Welcome back, Truth Seekers. It's been another week, and sadly, another Islamic attack on the West. France, once again, is the epicenter of a brutal and deadly sucker punch. While throngs of citizens and tourists celebrated in the streets in Nice, France, for their Bastille Day, a French Muslim of Tunisian descent drove a semi straight into the revelers, killing at least, at the last count, about 84, with at least 10 children dead, injuring hundreds more. Some of them are still in critical condition. They don't even know if they're going to make it or not. And this was all before he was finally killed. It's another sad day, to say the least, and I'd like to just take a moment just to offer a moment of silence for the victims and their families, and hopefully they can find some peace and comfort in this time of tragedy. I'm not going to spend too much time on this story. By now, if you haven't heard or been flooded by social media posts on this story, the events and the aftermath and so forth, you can Google it. You can look it up, Breitbart, Drudge Report, all these other news sites, and see what exactly happened. Instead, I want to focus on how we solve this problem, because these attacks will only continue unless we stop pussyfooting around the issue and attack it directly. I'm also not going into what it is about Islam that makes it so. There are plenty of other people who have done that already, so I refer you to the writings of Robert Spencer, Pamela Geller, Walid Shoebat, and their peers. The point I want to make with this video, folks, is that this is war. Islam is hell-bent on either converting us, subjugating us, or killing us. And we need to acknowledge this. It is high time that we stop saying that they're targeting Muslims just as much as they are targeting. No, that is not true. They are targeting Muslims, sure, but the fact that we have had multiple attacks on the West, starting with before even 9/11, the first World Trade Center bombing, the hostage situations back in the 70s, and the Lockerbie bombing and so forth. Islam has been at war with us for decades. And this goes back even further than that. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to stick to at least the 1970s is when it really started ramping up and it really started becoming a problem. So we have but two options: survival or death. If we are to survive, we need to drive them back, to break their spirit and expose their false religion for the bloodthirsty, murdering ideology that it is. My attack plan would be as follows. First, we must pray. Prayer is the most powerful tool in fighting Satan and his iterations, of which Islam is one. This is as much as a spiritual battle as it is a physical one. To win it, we need to invoke God to offer his protection to us, to forgive our transgressions, and to strengthen our resolve to see this to the end. Sadly, we do not have the resolve to do what is necessary to take on this threat, nor do we have leaders like El Cid or Charles Martel to help guide us and push us to fight this enemy and to seek true victory. Second, we must acknowledge what the problem is, and that is Islam. We need to stop calling Islam a religion of peace, or even a religion. Islam is more than a personal relationship with a false god. It is a lifestyle. It is a political system. It is an ideology of hatred and conquest. In short, it is the world's largest cult. We must begin to identify it as such, because if we continue to call it a religion, then we cannot hope to do anything more because we are hindered by our Constitution. Which brings me to my third prong. By removing its religion status, we can strip it of its constitutional protections under the First Amendment and actually go after them here in our country. Right now, our hands are tied by the Freedom of Religion Clause, which the left only uses to defend those that want to destroy the country, like Islam. funny how they can't seem to afford the same courtesy to Christians wanting to express their consciences and not supporting homosexual marriage, but that's another topic for another video. Anyway, the protections for religious freedom envisioned by our forefathers were not meant to allow a death cult like Islam to hide behind. We need to stop protecting their right to assemble a mosque and hide behind the veil of religious freedom where the imams preach hatred and death while allowing congregants to store weapons and make ready for war. We go after them on social media. They make a pro-jihad, pro-Sharia, anti-American post, they're done. We have to stop hindering ourselves and say that they have the constitutional right to speak freely. First off, constitutional rights only apply to American citizens. It is expressly stated in the preamble. Secondly, our constitutional rights do not allow for violence against others or allow for mass destruction and so forth. There was a famous Supreme Court case, perhaps you heard of it, where somebody yelled fire in a theater and caused a lot of mayhem and people got injured and so forth. He said, it's my constitutional right to do that. Supreme Court said, no, it's not. You can't say things that would put other people's lives in jeopardy. Rights do not extend so far that they hinder the rights of others. And right now, what is going on in a lot of mosques around the country is they are preparing to attack us. There's people there that know about Muslims that are getting ready to attack, and yet they're remaining silent. This is wrong. Fourth, we need to immediately strip the citizenship of and bar any Muslim found to be leaving the U.S. to go and fight with an Islamic terrorist group. These people are traitors, and they should be treated as such. If they're caught trying to re-enter the country, they need to be arrested and sent to Gitmo immediately. They do not deserve the rights and protections afforded to those citizens who are loyal to this country. Traitors are enemy combatants, period. Fifth, if a terror attack happens within our borders, the person or persons responsible, if they survive, should be arrested and tried in front of a military tribunal as an enemy combatant. Again, traitors renounce their citizenship and the rights and liberties afforded to them. Also, their families, their friends, and the mosque they go to all need to be investigated. If any evidence is to be found that they supported or that they knew and remained silent, then everybody involved gets arrested and tried in front of a military tribunal. If you support a traitor, you are just as guilty as treason. Sixth, we need to force them to assimilate into American culture. No Sharia courts, no Sharia law, no female genital mutilation, none of it. When you come to America, you come to become American. If they want to set up within a particular neighborhood, like the Irish, the Italians, the Chinese, or other immigrant groups before, fine. But they will comply with our laws. They will not post signs in anything but English. They will learn English and speak it in public. If they go up on social media and give support to a jihadi group or in support of jihad in general, support Sharia, or anything else that puts American lives or supports the destruction of this country, flag them, track them, find out who else among them is of like mind, and then take them all out. And if they don't like it, we ship them back to whatever Islamic hellhole they came from and bar them from reentry ever again. We cannot keep these people in our country if they refuse to honor our laws. Either we have laws that protect our citizens, or we do not, and therefore we are no longer a country. Seventh, and this is going to be the most controversial of my proposals, but we have to let slip the dogs of war and hit these murdering bastards with everything we have. Me personally, I like the General Pershing method. For those unfamiliar with this story, during the Spanish-American War, when we were fighting in the Philippines, the southern islands, which are almost exclusively Muslim, took the opportunity to attack our troops. General Pershing got tired of this, so he took a number of Muslim POWs, lined them up in front of a firing squad for execution, and just before the soldiers loaded their rifles, he brought over a slaughtered pig and told his men to dip their bullets in its blood and then load. Muslims, of course, protested, claiming that in their religion, pigs were unclean, and if they were killed with pig's blood, they'd never get to heaven. Pershing had them shot anyway, and then spread the word that our bullets were laced with pig's blood. Almost immediately, the attacks by Muslims stopped. When your enemy has a particular weakness, you exploit the hell out of it. We're not doing that because we're being culturally sensitive. It's not right. We shouldn't devolve down to their level. And that's why they're going to keep killing us. Because we refuse to get down and beat them at their own game. We try to play highbrow and, oh, we're so much better than that. Oh, we're so much more civilized. War is not civilized. War is the furthest thing from being civilized. But it is necessary in order to defend our rights. And right now, we have a major cult, a world cult of over 1 billion people that teaches that they are to lie, to subjugate us, to kill us, to do whatever they can to spread jihad and Muhammad's message across the world until all the world is Islam. There is no other option for us. And we have to stop thinking that we can coexist with this cult. Some of you may be thinking, well, what about those Muslims that have fully integrated to America? To them I say, great, good. I'm glad that you don't subscribe to this madness. I'm glad that you do not think that it is right to kill in order to spread your word and so forth. I can't say I entirely trust you because of that little thing, taqiyya, in the Quran, which is a order to lie to the infidel to gain their trust in order to advance Islam and jihad. So forgive me for not completely trusting you, but until you get all the imams that will sit down and reform Islam to remove that from the Quran and the teachings, along with jihad, Sharia, and everything else that is objectionable and against Western values, then I would say that I'm glad to have you on our side, but I won't entirely trust you until that happens. Getting back on topic here. So the next time we get attacked by an outside force, whatever country of origin spawned these demonic bastards, we give them an ultimatum. Give up the remaining group members responsible, help us destroy them, or we level your city, salt the earth, and piss on the ashes before we go home. If the country helps us, we go in, we kill every last one of these, one belonging to the group there, stuff bacon in their mouths, and leave their bodies for the carrion. A nice little memento. A nice little sign for the remaining groups of, you do not mess with us. If the country refuses, we roll in like the Romans on Carthage, reduce everything to a pile of rocks, say have a good day, and go home. No nation building, no trying to win hearts and minds, just a straight up country ass whooping, and leave the smoking remains as a reminder to the other nations, deal with these scumbags yourselves, or we will show no mercy. Execute one to motivate 100, as Sun Tzu would say. Now, I can already hear the usual response. That's barbaric. We need to defeat them by rising above their brutality and show them love, and I'll just shut the hell up already. We've tried that. It doesn't work. And it's because of the feckless and weak-minded fools like you that these Islamic attacks are happening, and with more frequency. Islam is not understanding of winning hearts and minds. It is not a religion of peace. It is not compatible with any other system than its own. Ask the Jews and non-Muslim Arabs that once resided in Medina. What, you don't know this story? Oh, go look it up. It's a nice read about how the Muslims first came in and slowly took over the city. Also, ask speaking of which, ask people that live in Europe right now with those no-go zones. Ask Thomas Jefferson, the man who wrote the Declaration of Independence, perhaps our country's biggest supporter and lover of religious liberty, who, before declaring war on the Barbary pirates in Morocco, sat down over a weekend and read the Quran. He came back and announced that the Quran was a book of war, not a religion. Thomas Jefferson, by all accounts, was a pretty level-headed guy. If he himself did not recognize Islam as a religion, but a doctrine of war, then that should tell you something, people. Everywhere in history Islam is allowed to take hold, it has always tried to subvert, convert, or kill opposing factions. We are either going to have to acknowledge this and deal with Islamists harshly, or we're going to die. That's it. There is no third option. There is no coexist, like those stupid bumper stickers. Every time I see one of those, I just want to take a pickaxe and just leave holes in it. Islam understands only two things. Defeat the kuffar, otherwise known as the infidels, the non-believers, or be defeated. I am not proposing genocide here, but I am proposing that we forcibly remove Islam back to the Middle East and keep them there. I am proposing that we show no mercy to them, because if given the chance, they will show no mercy to us. Just look at what happened at Nice. This guy was a citizen. Yes, he was a petty criminal, but you know what? They still let him stay in there after his crimes. How did he repay their kindness? He drove a truck into a crowd and killed damn near 100. How's that for them showing us mercy? Okay. Enough on this subject. I could wax on and on about it, but like I said, there are plenty of other people who have already done it. Go see them if you're not convinced on the dangers of Islam. So, what else happened this week? Well, we saw Black Lives Matter demonstrate throughout the country. Some are still happening and are planned to happen over this weekend. Hopefully nothing else goes wrong. Sadly, these people are ignorant and are doing nothing more than furthering the divide of the American people and the country. See my last vlog on this issue if you want to hear more of my analysis of this racist movement. If you really want to see how racist these people are, there are morons claiming that the Nice attacks were to get the spotlight off of BLM. Seriously? People died, and just because France just happens to be a predominantly white country, you think that it was intentionally done, that white people were intentionally murdered just so the news would cover them and not the Black Lives Movement. Some people just need a punch in the face, I swear. Just further proof that these people are nothing more than petulant racist children. And let's see here. Oh yeah, James Comey and Loretta Lynch were called in front of Congress to testify about the Hillary Clinton case. Both stuck with their stories, no big surprise. But a silver lining through all this, Trey Gowdy, Congressman of South Carolina, got Comey to admit that Clinton lied multiple times. He got Comey on record to admit that when Hillary Clinton said, "Oh, I only set up one server," Comey said, "Nope, set up multiple. I gave all the emails." Nope, she didn't get all the emails. I mean, there was like 7 or 8 of these questions in a row of just, did she? No. Did she? No. Did she? No. It was just, somebody, please, take that clip. I mean, remember the video I posted a little bit ago about how I said Comey's the gift that keeps on giving? Yeah, his latest congressional testimony further proves my point. Make a slew of ads with his testimony, and you would completely destroy Hillary Clinton's credibility. I'm not joking here. It is gold. It is just waiting for the taking. Moving across the aisle, Trump's VP pick was announced today. Trump style, of course, via Twitter. Happens to be the first time a vice presidential pick was announced via social media. So yeah, another first for this campaign. So it was Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana, and I'll be honest, he wasn't my first pick. I started leaning this way after hearing a number of things this week when it was down to quote unquote 2 people, and they were like, oh, they're thinking Gingrich or Mike Pence, whatever. I started thinking, nah, it's probably gonna go to Mike Pence, only because Gingrich is a little too hot-headed as well. I mean, he's in fire for basically saying the same things I just said about Islam this week on national television. So I think what Trump is doing is he's making a safe pick. Pence is the complete opposite to Trump's personality. So it gives the perception that Trump is mellowing his campaign, even making him sound more presidential through this. But the other thing to this is that Mike Pence is also a known conservative with a pretty good track record of supporting conservative and moral issues. Still not entirely sold on him. I mean, he's a good guy, but I'm not entirely convinced that he has the fire in his belly to attack the likes of Clinton and to withstand the leftist media onslaught of stupidity and gotcha questions. But I trust Trump would make the best choice, and I don't think he would have picked Pence if he didn't feel that he was up for it. So we'll see. Time will tell. But so far, Trump really has not made too many tactical errors so far in this campaign. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Speaking more about the elections, polls are now showing how vulnerable Hillary Clinton is. Some very much so. Trump and she are neck and neck in Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania. Some are even showing Trump slightly ahead of her. There's also a poll that shows Trump making Connecticut in play. Connecticut, people. Okay? Connecticut has not voted for Republicans since Reagan? Maybe? I mean, it's been a long time. And Connecticut's not really known as a bastion of Republican or conservative thought. So that's, if that really is true, that's pretty big. Now, I have cautioned before about trusting polls this far out from the election. So I'll take these with a grain of salt for right now. But I do believe that as we get closer to the election, Trump will edge her out in many of these states. I also believe Trump can and will win in November. I'm not going to go as far as some of these pundits to say that he's going to blow her out a la Reagan in 1980. I think we have way more stupid people in the country now than then. So it'll be a much tighter race, but I do believe Trump will win. And as for my reasons why I think he would win, I'm saving that for a future video, so stay tuned on that. Oh, what else happened this week? Yep, I got to talk about this. Okay, oh man. So, this is going to be the last political topic for this round, but Justice Ruth Bader Ginsberg, aka the Crypt Keeper, shut her mouth off this week, decrying Trump breaking the all-important veil of impartiality of the Supreme Court. In my opinion, Miss Gollum here needs to step down. Like Trump, I believe her mind is shot, but I think she's been shot since the first time since way before she's got selected. I mean, what do you expect from a leftist mind? Leftism is insanity. It is a mental disease. I would say it's time to put her out the pasture, but I also worry about her infecting the herd with mad cow disease. So at this point, the best option would be just to have her retire, go live in a quiet, secluded location for her health, and just kind of forget about her. I'm sure at some point she'll probably die, and they'll be like, "Oh, what? She died? Oh, okay. Well, let's read the obituary. Yep. I'll say some prayers for her, and then let's move on." But her comments also bring up another important point, and that is that we need to push for reform of the Supreme Court. Now, for all you constitutionalists out there that are all of a sudden screaming, "Oh my gosh, what are you saying?" Hear me out, okay? I like Mark Levin's book, The Liberty Amendments. And I believe that the amendment to put term limits on Supreme Court justices is necessary now. Because the Founding Fathers, when they wrote that, they did not expect people to live as long as, like, the ghoul Ginsberg. So we need to put it so that these people do not form a tyranny on the bench. They serve their time, they get the hell out, and we put new people in. Yes, I understand the risk that, if we have a leftist president, we could have, him stack the deck with liberal justices. I understand that argument. However, the current system that we have now is not working either, because these people sit on the bench and they remain there for the rest of their lives, and they think that they're Caesar in the Colosseum. They give the thumbs up or thumbs down and play with our liberties. We need to hold these people accountable, and we have to do something. And I think that this is the most sensible idea for right now. That's all I'm going to say about politics right now. So we're going to get off that topic, and we're going to be jumping over to Idaho. Provide you all with an update on that tragic story about the little girl that got sexually abused by the 3 Muslim refugee boys a few weeks back. For those that didn't hear about that, see my previous blogs where I talked about that then. Since then, all three of those refugee families were served eviction notices from the apartment complex. Two of them left, one of them stayed. And unfortunately, it just so happened to be the one living right next door to the victim. The poor family is traumatized and is in need of your help. The little girl feels unsafe to go outside. She's become a prisoner inside her own apartment. The mom is already caring for not only her, but they have another autistic child. Her fiance is taking time off work to try to help deal with the issues here and try to get their daughter into counseling, therapy to try to help her overcome this, because she's become very scared of boys. And it's an absolute shame to see the mental breakdown of this child and hear about it. So there is a GoFundMe page set up by the friends of the family to help them raise money to move them out of the apartments into a better place, and then also take care of their legal fees. I'm providing a link at the bottom of the page here if you feel the need to, if you can help. Okay, as Christians, I feel that this is the least that we can do. They're not getting much support from the media, the local prosecutor, even the police, who are all trying to stonewall and just make the incident disappear into the ether of political correctness. The community is helping out, but there's only so much that they can do as well. So it's such a shame that the victims are the ones getting punished more than the cretins that did this. Speaking of cretins, ever needed a reason to tell your leftist friends why Planned Parenthood needs to be defunded, as if murdering babies and being found by a known racist eugenicist wasn't enough? Planned Parenthood is being sued by a mother for covering up the sexual abuse of her second husband on their 13-year-old daughter. The stepfather was essentially raping the 13-year-old girl and had been doing so since she was a little child. She finally got pregnant, and the stepfather, to cover up his crimes, took the girl to Planned Parenthood to get an abortion. Planned Parenthood knew she was underage, and by law was required to report the possible sexual abuse of a child to the authorities. They did not. They didn't even notify the mother of what was happening. It wasn't until the daughter finally opened up about the abuse that the truth came out. This is such a horrible tragedy, especially for that girl and for that mother there. They've since had the stepfather arrested. He's barred from visiting. They've taken steps to protect themselves, go through counseling and so forth. But right now, we need to pray for that family, ladies and gentlemen. We also need to pray that evil stepfather never again is allowed to abuse a child. But we also need to pray that this story will help to finally break Planned Parenthood's grasp for our tax dollars. This group should not be receiving funding from the public, from the government at all. This group needs to be shut down. Okay, we've been talking a lot about some rather sad stories. Let's go ahead and end this segment with some positive stories here. Starting off with our favorite Black Lives Matter. There's two stories I like to point out here. The first, a Black Lives Matter organizer took up the local police agency's offer to come and experience what it's like to be a cop in life and death situations. I provided a link to the story where you can see the video. Recommend you watch. It offers a really good look into what can happen in just a split second to cops, and it certainly left an impression with the Black Lives Matter organizer. I believe that it's now turning the hamster in his head, getting him to think about all sorts of other things and whether or not he may have been overreacting and so forth when he started doing Black Lives Matter. So we can hope that this further opens up more dialogue and gets both sides to understand each other, but especially the Black Lives Matter people as well. There's a lot of misinformation about cops, and they just need more training or what have you. This video helps dispel a lot of that garbage. Another Black Lives Matter story. Down in Texas, protesters in Dallas were met by counter-protesters. Some of these counter-protesters were flying the all-racist Confederate flag, which, by the way, is not racist. It's Southern pride, not white pride. Whatever association it had with the slave owners and KKK and so forth from the past, that's all done. It's Southern pride now. You would think that this would have gone off as well as screaming fire in a crowded theater, But surprisingly, both sides actually came together. They crossed the street, met in the middle, they shook hands, they hugged, they talked, they even prayed together. It was truly a great sight to see, and something that we need more within this country. It's not just about protesting and yelling to get your way. It's all about coming together as Americans to help and support each other. We should remember that. And we should remember that what makes this country great is that wherever we've come from around the world, whatever creed we belong to, whatever religion we practice, at the end of the day, we're still all Americans. And we need to remember that whatever beefs we have with each other, we can still come together and try to talk it out and find a more positive solution. All right, so our last story takes place halfway around the world in Vietnam. Starting 15 years ago, a Vietnamese man went to the hospital with his pregnant wife. While there, he noticed pregnant women going into the room next door and coming out sans child. He found out that those babies were being aborted. Such a tragedy. Well, he decided the least he could do was take the bodies of the murdered babies and give them a proper burial. He bought some land where he interred over 10,000 murdered babies. Eventually, he was able to get the attention of mothers unable to keep their children, and rather than aborting them, they agreed to let the man adopt them. So today, he's saved over 100 children, and he keeps them at his home, raises them, teaches them, and cares for them all. This man is a hero. Let's pray for that he's able to care for them for many more years to come. And if I ever find that person that keeps cutting onions near me whenever I read these type of stories, they're in for a good smacking. And with that, that is the end for this edition of my weekly vlog. Yes, there are plenty of other stories going on right now. Hell, there's a military coup in Turkey. I don't feel like talking about it right now because it's breaking, and I would rather let the dust settle and see what all the facts are, and talk about them then. I'm kind of that person, maybe one of the only few people left in the world that actually likes to, instead of jumping to conclusions, say, okay, let's see what all the facts are first before we start hanging people here. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, subscribe, share my videos. You can find me on Twitter at Athanasius Rep, and I also have a Facebook page, all of which I provide links below. So hopefully you found this enlightening, but more importantly, I hope that you've been inspired to speak truth and power more. Take care, everyone, and stay tuned for more videos to come. Christ's peace upon you all.